Hey guys, Robbie here from CrossFit South Bend. Today I am here with Tiffany, who recently finished our 90-day nutrition coaching program. First of all, Tiffany, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate it.
So Tiffany lost 13 pounds, 10 of which were pure fat. She, awesome job, basically kept her muscle at exactly the same level, and then she lost about 3.5% body fat. So today we're going to talk about Tiffany's journey. So Tiffany, tell me a bit about what you were doing nutrition and exercise wise before we started working together.
I consider myself a professional dieter. I feel like I've always worked out. I've always, sort of tried to do a little cardio in the morning, go to the gym and so forth. And then on my diet, just trying to be conscious of my portion size and, calorie counting. And so I've done the Weight Watchers, the points and stuff, because I was like, oh, it's easier to count, the 20 versus 2,000, type of thing. But just all those things still just never got me all the way to where I wanted to go. Well, and I feel like maybe one time I did, but I don't even think I was really trying to diet at that time, which is sort of even like how this was. It was so natural that it just came off. And then I, would do the fat burners here and there, where in essence, you really don't feel like you're really doing anything. And I hate pills anyway, but it's just like you get into that routine, like, okay, if I stop, will I just blow up or whatever? And once even trying, I won't say the name, but one of them, and it was just like, I'm like, hell, I'm going to pass out just sitting in my chair. I felt like my heart was going so fast. I was like, what the hell was that? Right. We're not doing that again. So, really, like I say, being a professional dieter, trying to use myself as a science experiment to figure out, what is it about, not being able to, lean out the way I wanted to when I felt like I was doing so much. And it's like, I don't want to get to the extreme point where you're, I want to say anorexic, because I'm like, physically I know I'm not getting there, but you feel like you're doing all the habits that a person that would be anorexic and things are doing, as far as not eating enough or over exercising. And so I was mindful of that, but trying to figure out what was that key that I was missing.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so I think one really important thing to mention is that, Tiffany, as opposed to most people, was, I would say, way ahead of the curve in terms of how she was eating. So she was mainly eating real whole food to begin with. And, we just made some tweaks in terms of cutting certain things out and, some grains and things like that. But you were already doing really well compared to most people. And this would be a good example of how, you can even make progress just cleaning things up even a little bit towards those goals. So tell us a bit about the actual process, like month one where we're transitioning, month two when we do the whole 30, reintroduction. Tell us about that whole process.
Well, it was a little intimidating, obviously, because you're just like, you're cutting out things and you just like, okay, I can do it. You can say you can do it, but then you just know you feel like you might be, just really craving it, and just, being accountable is just one of those things where, of course, nobody's watching you, so you could sneak this or that, but at the end of the day, you're only cheating yourself. So I was mentally ready, really, just to put more energy into me. And then I'm just cheap, so I'm like, I'm not about to waste my money. If he tells me to do this, I'm going to do it, But it was, I liked the way it was gradual, it was really just like, show me what you are doing now, and then he monitored that. Then it was making little tweaks here and there. And the fact that, like he said, I wasn't really doing bad, so I'm like, okay, actually my very first week, I was real horrible. Brandon had coached me. He was like, yeah, just eat every damn thing and just, And I actually wasn't, but it happened that I was just like, yeah, I had peanut M&Ms, and then I had a gyro, and I was like, I really don't eat this bad, but it was just crazy this week. So, it was, I really just wanted a truthful analysis of what's going on with my system, that I can't get to where I want to, go. And I guess, that was the first month, and then you're saying like the second month, I was actually going into the whole 30, right? So going into the whole 30, it wasn't bad. I thought it was going to be difficult with the food, the menu and so forth, but I enjoyed cooking, so it was fun for me and the kids, and I was really ready for a change from my own menu anyway, because you tend to get just bogged down by the your habits of what you cook every week, and you try to throw in something different. You maybe a roast here or there, but it's still just like and starting to eat Brussels sprouts, not something I grew up eating. Just my mother being from the South, like the greens were like the greens. We have greens, cabbage, green beans, whatever. But you see this array of greens in the grocery store. But it's like, what do you do with all that? What's Swiss chard? I don't know what that is. And then even I had started eating kale with that were already pre-made in salads, but not really buying kale and putting it in my eggs or putting it in this. Just really learning about my nutrition, learning about the vegetation, and learning about my macronutrients. That was really key. Just that was like the eye opener right there. Like macronutrients, I understood that because you are brainwashed into this pyramid of food, all of these things that you have to eat, and in essence, your vegetables are your carbs. That's it at the end. I mean, not saying that's it, but that's your carbs. You don't have to say vegetables is a subgroup. Vegetables is part of the carb subgroup. So, and then even understanding the healthy fats, that was very beneficial to me, just because I had already, I wasn't eating any of the margarines. I was already using the olive oil. I sort of, I didn't even understand really, the difference from like canola oil or whatever, but I would only use that to maybe fry fish anyway. So, me using olive oil was like, okay, that's just my oil of choice, not really understanding how beneficial it was. But knowing also that, butter isn't bad for you, and Robbie showing me, the clarified butter, the ghee, and explaining, the difference in it. And just making that change in that month, like your body just shifts. I mean, when I would sneak stuff, I could tell right away, like my tongue tingled. I would try be out with the kids. I'm like, okay, we'll get some fast food, and I'll maybe just take a bite. Look, give me a bite of your or whatever, and I could taste the chemicals in the food. So my taste buds changed, the way I felt changed. I didn't have energy drops. I didn't feel hungry. And I was, and then I was saving money because I'm cooking more. So, spreading my food out, eating my leftovers for breakfast, just all those things that it's just like, like that's common sense. We just don't do, because we get into this carb breakfast, mentality, just because that's what we do. Even, eliminating milk is like, you think you need milk because your calcium, and then, then you get the real information about why you don't need it. And we've really been brainwashed out. As I talk about Whole 30 to other people, I'm like, I took the red pill, because it really is that feeling. It's just like, our society is basically, or the government has manipulated us into thinking we need certain things just for corporations to make money off of us, point blank. So when you get back down to the basics, it comes down to just eating basic, eating whole foods, and not only are you getting healthier, you're saving your money, and just, everything is better. So that was it in a nutshell to me.
Yeah. Awesome. So you mentioned a couple of your, the Whole 30 refers to these non-scale victories. Mm-hmm. So we talked about your body composition stuff, which was fantastic. And you were mentioning that your cravings were less and your energy was more. One of the things, I remember when we had our last meeting, you were talking about like kneecaps, and then feeling less irritable, and then skin clearing up, and like other things like that. Like what are the, clothes fitting better, things like that?
Yeah.
What sort of things do you notice there?
Clothes, it took a while for the clothes to fit better, actually. So that was at the end. But right away, the energy level, I felt like I used to get just a little more drained towards around 3 o'clock. And so thought I was just doing something good, always keeping a snack, keeping an apple or something on hand. But then I realized that if you're fueling your body properly throughout the day, you don't need to snack as often. So I wasn't snacking as often. And all because eating the proper fats, eating the proper just macronutrients. And then from my workouts, I wasn't sore. My strength definitely increased. I mean, I'm showing out on the pull-ups. And so that was like I could do a half pull-up when I first started. That's just part of CrossFit in general. But I do feel like what I'm fueling my body with has helped my strength increase. And I'm trying to, my mood, I mean, the mood thing, I mean, it's sort of variable because part of me even starting, as I was telling Robbie before, me starting this whole 30 process was not necessarily a weight loss journey. It was more or less me loving myself a little more because I had been going through a lot of stress, and then in general my lifestyle is stressful because I have single mom, 2 kids, and my son, he's 13, he has cerebral palsy, so our lifestyle is just it's just a lot, whatever, but it's my norm, so I'm sort of used to a high stress situation. And then I had some other personal things going on, and I just felt myself getting depressed and down, and I felt the weight, even as much as I was trying to lose weight, I was gaining weight. And it's just like, you lose 2 pounds and then you gain 10, and like, what the hell? So I was just moving into my house over here when I started, and I was just like, I didn't have any time to come in the evening because I was still getting stuff situated, so I forced myself to come to the 5 o'clock class, because it was all about just do something for you, and so from just doing that, joining CrossFit, to level myself more, then stepping it up the next for this nutrition coaching, because it's like, obviously I don't know what I'm doing, so go ahead and seek advice. And by doing that, I mean, sometimes when people get depressed, they do fall into eating or drinking or whatever, but just I consider myself being very mentally strong. It's like, okay, if I'm going to be extreme, I'm going to go extreme on being positive. And so just really focusing on everything, journaling. I mean, the act of journaling, just being accountable of that. And so, like I say, because my stress level was still high, the stress never changed, but just the way I was managing it was better. And I actually had specific things to do, like the meditation, the journaling, those things that I wasn't doing. And so that sort of helped to level out my stress level and even help me cope with things a little better. And then the clothes start fitting better. And yeah, I was excited about that because I have this big stack of clothes, some real cute jeans that I just refuse to get rid of them, and I got a pair on today. And even as he mentioned me eating better, I feel like my waistline has always been small, because of the way I try to eat, but it's below the waist. That's the problem. And so, I start noticing because, just my skin toning up, different areas in my legs, and even the back fat, it's like, oh, the roll's not back there anymore. Is that a shadow or is that a roll? So, the skin tightening was definitely a plus. That was my biggest motivator. I guess, and even the water consumption, I still felt like I wasn't getting enough water, but there would be days when I would forget my water bottle and whatever, and then, so I really wasn't getting water, and I would cramp up so bad, so it's just like, oh, that's the difference in really hydrating yourself. So at home, like, I don't have any juices, I was making spaghetti with the spaghetti squash, and my son's like, oh, that's spaghetti, whatever. And then in the middle, he's like smashing. He's like, oh, this is great, Mom. I'm like, I already know. I don't know why you be hating on me. So, and then I just don't buy certain things in the house. It's just like, you don't put cookies and chips and stuff in your house if you don't want to eat them. We had our little special occasions, the football, Super Bowl or whatever, but And so my little kids are my little sponges, so they're always talking about like, oh, I just want water, and and I just blah blah blah. So that feels good. That's actually one of the biggest things. Is just your kids. You see that them starting to adapt positive, health habits and being conscious of just being healthy and understanding what they're doing for their body, and that's probably the biggest take back, of doing this whole 30 is sharing it with the kids.
Absolutely. And I mean, to me, your story is very inspiring, and I think you've had to deal with a lot more, stuff in terms, you got, job stress and life stress and, kids and trying to eat healthy. And, if you were to run into someone who maybe is feeling like their life is very stressful, and let's say they're a single mom and they're wondering like, hey, could I even do this? Is this even something I should try? What would you say to someone like that?
I just say love on yourself. I mean, it's one of those things where, even with my family members having that talk, because like one of the things that I looked at with Whole 30, like my mother's from down south Arkansas, so they were all brick houses, boom, 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 when they were younger. And, now they're not so brick house. But and it's really because of how our society is. We sit down everywhere, we're eating processed food. But back then they ate well, but they had a garden. Their father went out and killed whatever meat they ate. So they were eating whole food then. Even though they were still doing, and they probably were more active. And so just like you say, with somebody in my situation, it's just, you can't give to anyone if your cup's not full. Whatever flows outside of your cup is what's for everybody else. And it's like, you have to force yourself to put yourself first, and it's not being selfish. You shouldn't be out here operating empty anyway, because then you can be toxic to someone else, and that's just my belief. And, everybody has their down moments. I mean, that's just part of life, but it's just like, I'm very spiritual in a sense. I'm not religious, whatever, but spiritual is just like, those are the things that grow you, and so you can have a testimony and for someone else to benefit off of, because I've been through a lot. I'll say I probably need to write a movie. So that in itself is just like, if you want to do something for your kids, take care of yourself and show your kids how to love on themselves. If you, want to lose weight or want to whatever, just take small steps. Don't try to do everything at the same time. Just, okay, start being active. Forget about keep eating the way you're eating. Just start being active. Okay, now start drinking water, little steps at a time, because it's not about, if you try to do too much at once, you stressing yourself again. That's how I feel. So, that's just really the biggest thing that I'm always sort of preaching to people. You just have to love on yourself, and then people will gravitate to that also. Even people like or want to meet somebody. Well, nobody gonna want to meet you if you looking depressed and and you sloppy and whatever. If you look like love and you're and you can't help but look like love if you're loving yourself. So that's that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And honestly, like, I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by your story. I think you did a fantastic job with everything. And I really can't say enough good things about how Tiffany did during the program. And we all have commitments in life, and it's one of those things, I think, where you were saying you got to put your oxygen mask on first. You have to love yourself first, and put that first. So.
And everything else will fall in place. I mean, the weight will come off. I mean, but not even with you paying attention, because since I've been off the program, I sort of bounced back a little bit because I went on vacation, but then you get into the habit. You already know what your portions are. You know what food, so you're eating that, and then you're naturally able to maintain and so forth. And so you're not so rigid on your program. Absolutely. It just flows. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right, Tiffany. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.